Well, folks, we're going to be talking about a ton of things about Nintendo Switch 2 today. Timestamps are down below because we have so much to get into, including the fact that Nintendo Switch 2 is projected to be the fastest selling dedicated video game device ever created by an entity that has been tracking the industry for going on 30 years. So that's going to be pretty exciting to get into. We have a look at some brand new accessories. We also have a look at another mock-up of Nintendo Switch 2, but this time we get even more finer details. We get to see the Joy-Cons disconnecting, the Joy-Con 2s for Nintendo Switch 2 disconnecting. We get to see, hey, does the actual Nintendo Switch 2 work in the OLED dock or any dock for Nintendo Switch? Is there some compatibility there? We're going to find that out today, and so much more. In fact, one thing we're going to be talking about today is a brand new rumor that deals with the Switch 2 Pro controller. Oh man, we have a ton of stuff to get into, like 4, 5, 6 different stories. Absolutely wild. So without further ado, we're going to dive in after I remind you that we're on our road to 140,000 subscribers. If you're enjoying all this coverage of Switch 2 and Nintendo, all you gotta do is subscribe down below. Now, first, we're gonna head on over to WCCF Tech because they have. It turns out you have to pay to get access to this, so that's why we're using this website. They have the projections for Nintendo Switch 2 sales, and oh boy, it's wild. So Nintendo Switch 2 is projected to sell between 15 and 17 million units next year. Not sure if that's calendar or fiscal year, but then 80 million units by 2028 with little competition from Sony and Microsoft. So where does this all come from? Well, right here, today, DFC Intelligence, the longest standing research and advisory firm focused exclusively on the video game industry, published its 2024-5 market report and forecast, projecting major revenue growth for the video game industry for the second half of the decade. Following 2 years of revenue drop, the market will grow from this year's $72 billion to $83 billion in 2028, reaching nearly $1/3 trillion by then, factoring in PC and console hardware along with mobile game revenue. The video game audience is also expected to grow considerably, and nearly half the world is expected to be playing video games by 2027. Now, obviously, that's across all platforms, including phones. You can see their little pyramid of growth here. Kind of cool, like core gamers, that's like kind of us, the console gamers. The top 10% of gamers are about 400 million and growing, so you're including PC, consoles, etc., accounting for 65% of revenue. Then you have your casual gamers, as the gamer population reaches 4 billion, 90% are low revenue gamers, accounting for only 35% of the revenue. These are mostly like your phone gamers. Then you have your non-gamers that are also playing on 4. That's more than half the world that does not currently play video games. All right, so as we go down, where are they getting these numbers from? Well, in the midst of the projected growth, Nintendo is expected to emerge as the absolute winner of the next console generation with Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of hardware sales. According to DFC Intelligence, the system will be the most popular next generation console thanks to a combination of early availability and limited competition. As such, Nintendo's next system is expected to sell between 15 to 17 million units next year and 80 million units by 2028. The PlayStation 6 and Xbox Next, on the other hand, are expected to fail to significantly increase Sony and Microsoft's market share. So they're basically saying, hey, yeah, Sony and Microsoft are going to do their thing, but they're not really going to get any bigger market share than they currently have. They seem to think Switch 2 is going to make Nintendo gain market share. So as we look at here, the two companies will struggle in distant third place, depending on which one of the two can gain early momentum. Now, here is this really interesting infograph. As we look here, worldwide unit sales forecast for the new system. You see in the first year, you're seeing that 15 to 17 million. Then you're seeing almost like just short of 25 million. This one right at 25 million. This one just short of 25 million. That would be absolutely incredible. That would make Nintendo Switch 2 the fastest selling system to ever release. I think that is wild. They also have a graph here for projected active install base of new video game systems. And it just kind of shows that the new Nintendo system, System 2, System 3, this is what's happening. So like they're counting Nintendo Switch 2 as a next generation device, not a current generation device. And so obviously the other two won't be in the market. Other two won't be in the market. They'll be in the market, and then they'll be in the market here. And they think this System 2 is probably going to end up being the PlayStation 6. But even then, by then, Nintendo Switch 2 will have at least double the install base, around 60 to 80 million. Pretty crazy if you put it all into perspective, yeah, they're expecting Nintendo Switch to be huge. Again, this is a place that's been analyzing the video game industry and only the video game industry for a hell of a long time. So their projections, if you actually looked at this generation, ended up being pretty spot on. They projected the Switch to be the #1 selling system, and well, it is. So I find that to be interesting. Also, the way that they categorize the generations is the way a lot of us Nintendo fans tend to do it. Wii U was the PlayStation 4, and you know, Xbox One competitor. Nintendo Switch is the PlayStation 5 Xbox Series competitor. The next, you know, Nintendo Switch 2 will be the PlayStation 6. I get it. I know, like, Nintendo releases their systems now at these weird times compared to everybody else, but you know what? They can, because no one else is really doing what they're doing. So kudos to Nintendo. Now, we have some new accessories to look at as well. Some of the people are using these accessories to determine what the launch game for Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be. I want to be clear, I don't know anything about what the launch game is going to be, but I do think that we should look at these accessories anyways. Of course, we're looking at what you're seeing here. I know it's pretty small for you. We'll zoom in. The wheel. So, yeah, look, we've had this going on since like the Wii days, right? So no surprise there's going to be a wheel. You can see the back side, the front side, etc., etc. Nothing too special about it. It pretty much works exactly like the wheel worked on Nintendo Switch. So there you go. You got your increased paddles. It's just a wheel you turn. It's for Mario Kart mostly, or any other racing game that would like to support this format of racing. You see all the different colors. You see it from the side. So again, it's not like the most impressive thing in the world, but it is a brand new accessory. I think it's worth just bringing it up in a general sense because, hey, more and more accessory leaks keep happening, and this is something that wasn't a case for once. This is something directly for the Joy-Cons. Obviously, we knew there was going to be wheel accessories, right? Probably even official Nintendo ones at some point, but there you go. Now, next up, we're going to be looking at some mock-ups from 2 different videos because we get some unique perspectives in both videos. The first video comes from NerdQuest. They were sent the same mock-up that Switch Up was that we covered earlier, but they showed much better comparisons. So this is the video here, the hands-on. We're just going to kind of go, we'll just hit play here and go forward. You can see that they have the mock-up here, the same one as Switch Up. But there's a couple instances in this video that we really want to look at for the comparisons. So first off, the Joy-Con detaches. Just watch him detach it here. Watch him. Watch him do it. He's going to detach the Joy-Con. Now, I want to note that how he's about to do it here is not how it's going to work in the final design. He doesn't have to press the release mechanism. It literally just pulls off because they put magnets in there. So it just literally detaches with a pull. Switch Up didn't show that. So this is the first time we've actually seen, you know, any sort of magnet based functionality. Obviously, this isn't exactly how things are going to work, but yeah. So here's just showing the close-up, and it literally just snaps right back in. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, none of the buttons are functional or any of that because, again, it's just a mock-up. So as we go on, he shows a great look at the top, which Switch Up did a good job as well with looking at the top. But Ryan likes this comparison right here. This shows the Switch OLED with the Switch 2 above it. I think that this is a really great look and comparison. Again, we'll link to this video down below. It's about 20 minutes long. So he goes really in depth on these comparisons and gives his thoughts and opinions. Here we see it with the Switch OLED, the Zelda Edition one, right below it. That's pretty cool. You can actually see his top-down camera there as well. And he did do a measurement, which other people didn't do. You know, you can see the old tape measure out. And yeah, it's about 8 inches. Look at that. It's about an 8-inch screen. A little bit shy of that, about 7.92, which again is, you know, what we expected, but it's nice to see that measurement in there to make sure it lines up. Here they are side by side, so you can see the thickness comparison. You can pretty much see they're basically the same thickness. There's not, you know, hardly any difference. Maybe a millimeter at most. Not a huge deal. And that's like the big stuff we get from his video. But we have another video we want to look at from somebody else who also got one of these iVoller mockups. iVoller's the company that created them. And it's called Mad Little Pixel, as you're seeing right here. So let's full screen this. And there's something he does here that's really unique in his comparison because we get him to actually look at how it works with the dock. So you can see it in hand. He's got that same thing. He does a very similar comparison, holding them next to each other without the top-down camera, which is a bit of a shame, but not everyone has it. But that's the part that I want to get to here is the dock. So you can see here that he's trying to put it in the Switch OLED dock, and it doesn't seem to work. It does look like, at least based on these mock-ups, that Switch 2 will not be compatible with current Switch OLED docks. This might be disappointing, especially since we know the OLED docks in particular can be updated to support 4K, but maybe that's just not going to happen because it looks like they did not design Switch 2 to actually work with the old docks. So you'll have to rebuy a bunch of docks if you're that kind of person that just keeps docks and different TVs in different places in their house. I know I have a dock upstairs on my TV. I have a dock in my bedroom and a dock down in my studio. So I understand that that perspective. So here he goes, just taking off the screen as well, something that no one else showed. Obviously, this is just a piece of glass. It's not, it's not really meant to be anything, but it just shows that it does detach, and it was just attached with magnets. So I do think it's just cool to get some additional looks at that mock-up because it's the closest thing we have to anything that matters. Now, we have to dive into something else here. How about a new rumor about the Switch 2 Pro Controller? Now, we haven't heard anything on the Pro Controller. It's maybe one of the most desired accessories, one of the most bought accessories for Nintendo Switch. Anyone that plays in TV mode, I don't want to say all people, but most love using a Pro-style controller, whether it's from Nintendo or a third-party company. Well, we have some rumors on this over on the Switch 2 Reddit, and it says Switch 2 Pro Controller rumors have dropped. Now, these rumors come from Baidu, but we're going to stick here because they have the translations. There's also more in the comments here, so let's go ahead and load this image up. And it says, how to say the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller produced by our company. It is basically the same as the one. The details are mainly the big logo on the front of the controller, and the number 2 is added next to it, which is the same as the logo. In addition to pure black, there is a new gray-black color. The shell is black, and the joystick body and the top LR buttons are gray. Now we get to some interesting things here. The main change is that there's a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Hallelujah, baby! Now, that's a Christmas miracle. Again, now, this is just a rumor, though. We can't verify this, but it is still pretty interesting. It's the first time we've heard a 3.5 millimeter jack. Again, just a rumor, but I want it to be true, so I'm smiling. Then we get in here and it says added under the controller. So I don't know if that's like at the bottom of the controller, like other controllers do it. And you can plug in headphones to play with the controller. There are 2 buttons under the controller. Now, I find that to be interesting when we talk about 2 buttons under the controller for the middle finger and the ring finger. I don't know, middle finger and ring fingers like up in here. So like I'm thinking like did Nintendo go ahead and put paddles back here? You know how a lot of third-party controllers have at least one on each side back here? So maybe Nintendo put like 1 or 2 paddles back there. It's also possible that this person's not making the official Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller, but rather a third-party one. I know they say Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller produced by our company, but maybe they're just talking about a third-party controller for Nintendo Switch 2 produced by that company. So they would put the back parts on. So the real big part's the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's the actual update here when we look at this that I actually expect to apply to Nintendo Switch 2's Pro Controller, assuming that there's any truth to these rumors. Again, just rumors, no verifications here. Now, we have to close the image here. Now that we're off the image, we got to go down to the comment section because there's this part here that was from the same user, and someone went ahead and translated it. So let's go ahead and read what it said. So like this person said, I asked him something everyone wants to know about, so there's some update on the comments. C button located below the center of the controller. Probably no analog triggers, and don't know about the transparent window as shown on the bottom of the new Joy-Con. So we're hearing a lot of reports that like maybe the IR cameras are gone. Granted, the Pro Controller's never had them, but then it went and have some more translations here, and we'll just read this directly. So are there 2 new buttons behind the ZLZR, referring to the 2 new buttons on the new Joy-Con? And he says, at the base of the handle's leg, if the index finger is placed on ZLZR, the middle finger should hold the handle leg. The button is right there. Again, he's talking about those back paddles. So this is probably a third-party one. Newly added button behind the Switch 2 cannot be pressed by the ring finger. Are there names for those 2 buttons? I found keys called GL and GR in Vietnam. Customs data, I don't know if those are the 2, and he doesn't really answer that one. So that's just something to consider. Maybe Nintendo's putting those back paddles on there. Most companies don't. But it is just something to consider that, hey, it's something to talk about in regards to, let's just say in regards to, in general, this idea of the Pro Controller 2 getting some redesign. So we'll see what happens with the headphone jack's the one that I'm kind of banking on maybe having some truth there because it just makes sense. We should have had it on the first Pro Controller. Definitely should be there on the second one with a redesign. Now, we're going to talk about something else here because I mentioned in my last video that I had a source, as does Nintendo Talk, and other people who put rumors out there, that Nintendo is going to be revealing the Nintendo Switch 2 next month. But I don't know the day, I don't know the week, I don't know the launch games or any of that stuff. But what I can say is that doesn't mean that somebody else hasn't put a date out there and that there's not some interesting stuff going on. Now, a lot of people have gone ahead and brought up Samus Hunter. And I am, look, my stance on Samus Hunter is pretty clear. They were busted stealing leaks. I think they're still stealing leaks. Even the Xenoblade thing they got right. Midori said it first, so whatever. There's this post over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit that we're going to go over, but it starts with like corroborated the Samus Hunter stuff. What I want to get into first is Kit and Krista, because I feel like they provide some much needed context to this with insight from how Nintendo works and how they respond to things like leaks and rumors like this. Like, would Nintendo rush an announcement like Samus Hunter said before Donkey Kong, as if it would be a rush at this point? Most of us feel like it'd be kind of late to the party, but whatever. Would they be rushing an announcement? Is Samus Hunter correct? Let's just go ahead and hear what they had to say right here on the Kit and Krista channel.
Which is why it feels real.
Now, there was a rumor, I think from today, that said that they are concerned about these leaks and they're moving up the announcement, but they're going to do a split announcement, hardware first, games later. I don't buy this.
This is some bull honky.
This is, you just made up a word there.
Bull
Okay.
honky.
Interesting.
I think that this is the silliest thing I've ever heard. Yes, Nintendo does not do things like this.
That's not something they would do.
They would always stick to their guns and put out an announcement that is the most beneficial for the thing that they're trying to sell you.
Right.
They know for a fact that the software is going to sell this hardware, especially
You have to have the software.
especially when the form factor
Right.
is nothing
It's the
to
same.
write
It's
home
basically the
about.
same,
It's
yeah.
not like this dramatically different thing. So what are they going to do to show you how cool it looks?
Right.
Software. So there's no way this is happening.
Yeah, so again, this is where you need to be
Wrong.
have some critical thinking when it comes to these
Yeah.
things that are coming out there. It's like here we have like multiple visual proofs of this thing that
Yeah.
all looks the same. It adds up, but then you hear something like this. It's like, that
does not add up.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so
that does
even
not
though
add
we're
up.
at this point where it's progressed this far, like you still do need to be careful about what people are saying.
So as you saw there, Kit and Krista basically didn't say Samus Hunter, but I'll show you the tweet right now. This is what they're referencing. They're saying it's a bunch of bull honky. They're not going to suddenly rush the announcement because of the leaks. They're also not going to separate software into a separate announcement from the hardware because, oh my God, we got to get ahead of these hardware leaks. But yet the only way they really show off the hardware is with the software. The reveal trailer is going to have all of it in there. Will there be a big blowout later that goes into more details with the software and hardware? Sure, but the reveal trailer is clearly going to show software. They're not just going to show hardware without software. It's just not Nintendo's way. Like, this was never look, the Samus Hunter stuff is wild because it turns out Samus Hunter was not the first person to talk about mid-January, and it looks like they might have jacked it from somebody else. What are we talking about? Well, now that we go over to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit here, it said on December 15, 2024, 2 days before the Nintendo insider Samus Hunter mentioned the possible Switch 2 reveal. So this is, 2 days before the infamous insider Moisty Charlie on the GTA 6 Discord server mentioned a reveal date for the Switch 2 and stated the initial reveal was delayed due to supply chain issues. So this is the guy here. Average Lucia Fanatic is what their username is right now, but obviously they haven't a handle. Nintendo Switch 2 says, I was sent this image by a source. They asked me to share it with y'all. Official reveal is mid-January. The reveal was delayed 3 months because of supply chain issues. Okay, so we got this mid-January thing going on here, and that's cool. I don't really know that much about mid-January, but I do know that Moisty Charlie has actually gotten other things correct. As we go back and look here, it says, Moisty Charlie has previously accurately leaked the reveal date of PS5 Pro and the announcement of Nintendo Alarmo. He later claimed all he heard, the Alarmo thing was actually interesting because he thought it was going to be the announcement of Nintendo Switch 2. All he had heard, he claims, was that there was going to be a hardware-related announcement. Alarmo was something that kind of came out of left field, but he was right in the month it was going to be announced, so I guess you could use that. But really what he's known for is he gave us the exact day that they were going to reveal the PlayStation 5 Pro, and he was correct. He was literally the main person correct, so that's why people are paying some attention to him. Now, the question is, has he given us a date? Well, no, he hasn't given us exact date for when Switch 2 will be revealed, but he did say, somewhere towards the middle of January, right? Well, there is somebody else that we maybe should be paying attention to. This person is called Next Handheld. He's been the person that shared images with the moderator over at the Nintendo Switch 2 Reddit, but now has also shared those same images with the moderator over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. No one seems to know for sure if the person's legit. The images, they seem like they could be real, but also there's some potential red flags on them being fake. It's hard to really know, but it is important to note that Kit and Chris has said this about some of those rumors, saying that they actually think that next handheld is probably correct.
And then again, these things just keep escalating. Now there's somebody on Reddit who says that they have a actual working Switch 2 and that they're going to be revealing more information on Christmas, but they posted quite a bit of what they know so far.
Yeah.
And I'll just run through a few things. Like the console is actually, the thing is called the Switch 2. We've been calling it the actual name.
Yeah. It's
time.
so funny because every time we would say Switch 2, Nintendo would correct people and say, oh, don't say that. We want to call it the Switch successor.
Yeah.
Now, as a previous Nintendo employee, when they walk you back from a name that you're naturally calling it, that means it's actually the name.
Yeah.
That's what I think, because they do that a lot, where like when you accidentally know that, like, just naturally call it by what the name would be, but they're using a code name still.
Sure.
They don't like that because they want you to use that code name.
Right.
So I think it really is called the
And I
Switch
think also
2.
people know like the code name for this also leaked a while back too.
Yeah,
So it's just
yeah.
like leak after leak.
Right.
Talking about how there are indeed magnets involved.
Oh, the magnets.
Aren't you happy?
Yeah, the magnets are interesting. There seems to be some sort of magnet release button.
Well, that's potentially what that trigger on the back is.
Exactly.
Is that's the
it
release.
Deactivates the magnet,
I guess so.
I think, and then it releases the
Right.
Joy-Con.
Says that it has a dock that has the same sort of ports on a Switch OLED dock, but it kind of, the front of it goes,
curved.
it's lower.
It's lower.
So you can actually see about maybe half of the screen.
Right,
And we
right.
do have some people, this is a mock-up.
This is a mock-up,
This is
yeah.
not something that got visually leaked, but people are
Yeah,
just showing
yeah.
what that could presumably
Sure.
look like.
Yeah,
Now, obviously that is just opinions and we don't know, but there are opinions from people that know how Nintendo works, so it makes me feel like maybe there's some credence here. So let's go ahead and look at what next handheld said. We're just looking at the overview and the posts and replies. Obviously, we're not going to look at all the things that he was replying to. We're just going to look at what he said. And so as we go down, he's been talking a lot. And so I should have taken a photo of it docked. So he didn't take a photo of the Switch 2 docked, but the corners were cut more aggressively, like nearly the corner radius of the Joy-Cons. The dock top out of memory is probably closer to the middle of the Y button. The flat on the back, this has to do with the Joy-Cons. People asking if there's any ergonomics on the back side. No, they're flat on the back. He removed this post over in the Gaming Leaks subreddit. As we go down here, you'll see things like, it's literally from the retail box with the protective plastic stickers over it. Well, I can't blame people for being paranoid. At least the truth will be out soon enough. And he claims he's posting pictures like sometime around Christmas. So we'll see what happens. What other Nintendo ninjas have you identified? Worrying about the ninjas. No need to ban if I wanted to go. Yada, yada. Well, everyone knows what the Switch looks like already, and all the stuff I have just fill in the blanks that haven't been seen. Like I said, most images on here are 90% correct, at least the console. The dock looks more different in the back than the front, but it's also not that exciting. It's just curvier than the OLED one. But we have some more here. This is where we start to get exciting. Like if he knows this numbers, this is maybe seen documentation, but it's a 60 watts in the dock and 45 watts just for the Switch. No, I did not meet Miyamoto. Sorry, I can't tell what glass it had. It's two magnets that align a ping connector. I'm not sure if I really want to lick a game, but I would say that there's probably other leak sources that would have better access than me to games. So he's not really going to be talking about games, but 45 watts is good. That's actually really good. That's what we want to hear. Going on down here, he notes there's no GPU in the dock. So anyone who thought, oh, maybe there'll be GPUs in the dock, to make it more powerful, that's not the case. He says he sent different photos to different sources. I haven't seen this stuff, so I have no idea. Scrolling down, it says, it's not at the bottom anymore, and I don't have it at the hand moment. I don't recall seeing an IR sensor. This is the one, it kind of feels like, we've seen this consistently from some of the mock-ups and other things, that the IR cameras, I think, are gone. I think Nintendo decided to dump them. A cost-saving measure. Can you still play your Switch games that use them? Backwards compatible, sure. You'll just have to have the original Joy-Cons. But there you go. Like I'm not surprised Nintendo dropped a feature that was barely used. It's a cost-cutting measure. As we scroll down even further, he said all he's seen is black buttons on a gray Joy-Con. So people talk about colors and stuff. As we come down here, I just wanted to answer questions and not actually post a photo, but the mods needed it for proof. I don't know what the C button does yet because you didn't get to turn it on. There's nothing that would indicate casting to a TV that you've seen in the Docker console. So kind of shooting down that idea. Over Bluetooth, not over Rails. Photos of things never before leaked. Yeah, that's what he's claiming anyways. To be fair, I didn't see the 9 myself. I just know what game it is, whether it's called that specific name or not. I'm not sure because he was the one saying there's like going to be like a Mario Kart 9 version of the Switch. So we've gone over a lot of that other stuff before that in a prior video, but just kind of throwing out there that Kit and Krista seem to think this person might be legit. And so I'm just going to sit back and say, hey, you know what? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. All I know is, holy crap, we're 20 plus minutes into this bad boy, 25 plus. This is a wild and crazy video with so many parts to it. I'm going to let it lie there. I'm not going to give a bunch of opinions because in the end, I'm going to be back tonight on the Nintendo Byte podcast talking about all of this and everything that's happened over the last week, along with Thunderstash Gaming and Eric Moore and Nintendo Talk and Game Junction. It's going to be a nice little 5-pack for you guys. Going to be exciting times. A lot to talk about as we get into our second to last podcast of 2024. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rufflejans from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch you in the next video.